The Circuit of the Americas finally gave us an exciting race again. Battles were fought all over the grid, and even the eventual winner Verstappen was almost challenged. But after the race, two drivers were disqualified, losing their hard-fought points. The drivers in question were Leclerc and Hamilton, and the latter seemed to be the most upsetting, especially because Mercedes had just upgraded the floor. This obviously created rumours of cheating. So, did Mercedes try to cheat with their new floor during the Austin GP? After failing a post-race plank wear examination, both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were assigned to the United States Grand Prix Formula 1 stewards, which eventually followed in disqualification from the race. Hamilton originally finished second to race winner Max Verstappen, while pole-sitter Charles Leclerc finished sixth following a one-stop strategy. After the race, FIA technical delegate Joe Bauer reported Hamilton and Leclerc to the stewards after discovering that the skids on the underside of their cars did not comply with technical standards. The stewards' verdicts, which confirmed penalties for both Hamilton and Leclerc, stated that Mercedes and Ferrari both agreed that the measurement findings were valid. The two teams went on to say that the high wear on the skid pads was probably a result of the unique combination of the bumpy track and the sprint race schedule that minimized the time to set up and check the car before the race. But not everyone was so convinced by this reasoning from Mercedes, especially after they've just upgraded their floor, which conveniently wasn't up to standards after the race. The stewards added that it was a responsibility of teams to ensure their cars were compliant at all times during an event, and that disqualification, the standard penalty for a breach of the technical regulations, was required because both cars' planks were outside of the threshold set out by Article 3.5.9e of the regulations, which includes a tolerance for wear. The skids of the undersides of Hamilton and Leclerc's cars were not in compliance with Article 3.5.9e of the 2023 Formula 1 technical regulations, according to FIA technical director Joe Bauer. The thickness of the plank assembly measured normal to the lower surface must be 10 mm plus or minus 0.2 mm and must be uniform when new, according to the rule in question. A minimum thickness of 9 mm will be accepted due to wear, and conformity to this provision will be checked at the peripheries of the designated holes. Because of Hamilton's disqualification, Lando Norris moves up to second place in the race, while Carlos Sainz takes third place. Sergio Perez climbs into fourth position ahead of George Russell, who moves up from 7th to 5th. Perez's chances of finishing second in the 2023 F1 Drivers' Championship have improved as a result of Hamilton's disqualification. Rather than having his lead cut to 19 points, he now leads the Mercedes driver by 39 points, with 4 races remaining. The disqualifications double Pierre Gasly's point total. He now has 8 points for 6th position, putting him ahead of Lance Stroll, whose 7th place result is his best since finishing 6th in the Spanish GP in early June. Yuki Tsunoda moves up to 8th place and earns 5 points for his fastest lap bonus point performance on the penultimate lap. This doubles AlphaTauri's 2023 points total, putting it only 2 points behind 9th place Haas in the Constructors' Championship. Williams also had its first double points finish since 2021, with Alex Albon 9th and Logan Sargent 10th, his first F1 points finish. It's safe to say many saw this coming, because when the FIA's F1 technical delegate Joe Bauer reported Hamilton and Charles Leclerc's cars to the United States Grand Prix stewards after an assessment of the floor and plank wear revealed that the skids were non-compliant, disqualification was practically certain. And just a few hours later, Hamilton was stripped of second position and Leclerc was stripped of 6th, altering the race order and having major ramifications for both championships. And although the FIA was quick on the decision, it left us with some questions. Which rule did the drivers violate? Were the drivers examined for it? And was the sprint format a crucial factor this weekend in Mercedes and Ferrari getting caught? Or more importantly, did Mercedes cheat in any way by bringing that new floor? And could Russell also face more consequences because of this? Mercedes and Ferrari were found to be in violation of F1 Technical Regulations Article 3.5.9. The rule seems to be clear, but surely more drivers must have had this problem. So, who else did the FIA check after the race? At Austin, 4 cars were submitted to floor and plank wear checks, but only Leclerc and Hamilton's machines were deemed to be in violation of the regulations. The McLaren of Lando Norris and the Red Bull of winner Max Verstappen were also examined. Now you might think, why were only 4 cars expected on a weekend with a lot of bottoming out? Well, the FIA undertakes thorough legality inspections during post-race scrutineering, but it is impractical to inspect every part of every car. So 4 cars were chosen for inspections, 1 from each of the top 4 teams. the FIA releases a comprehensive list of everything checked in post-race scrutineering, which grew to 4 pages following the United States Grand Prix. There are no rules for checking sibling cars if a violation is discovered, and this might have just saved Russell's race result as well, because if the flaw was deemed to be illegal, they might just get away with it this weekend, which enables them to fix it before the Mexican Grand Prix. But why run an illegal flaw, or at least such a low ride height? Does it really matter that much on a track like this? Well, based on available race information, even an informed estimate cannot answer this question. There are several parameters. Running lower can cause the ground effect flaw to work harder and create more downforce. However, on a rough track, it is possible that certain sections of the circuit, or even curb hits with the underside, are to blame for the unlawful wear. Furthermore, running the car too low and striking the ground may have a detrimental impact. So while you might make practically any argument for performance improvements or losses, there's no final conclusion, at least not for now. However, there is no evidence that the Mercedes or Ferrari were operating at a ride height that would have altered their performance in any manner. Teams are especially wary about plank wear since it nearly always results in an automatic exclusion, so it would be insane to purposely incur the risk merely to get a performance advantage. But the big question after this weekend is, did Mercedes cheat with their new upgrades? And did this upgrade cause them to be disqualified after running too low? It's possible it will have changed how the ground effect flaw operates, but it's not a significant enough change to have caused this. The lack of setup time might have caused issues, but considering that Ferrari also had issues this weekend without any upgrades on the car, it's far more probable that external factors caused the increased wear rather than a particular adjustment on the Mercedes. And since the FIA hasn't released anything on Mercedes running an illegal flaw after checking Hamilton's, we're fairly certain that their flaw is up to standards, and it was just a case of multiple factors working against their car. But how is it possible that 2 of the top teams get one car disqualified? And if it weren't for the rules also possible had their second car disqualified? Well, on a typical weekend with 3 free practice sessions, neither Mercedes nor Ferrari would have been caught off guard. At least Mercedes was certain that was what had gone wrong in its case. Setup choices on a sprint weekend are always a challenge with just 1 hour of free practice, and even more so at a bumpy circuit like COTA and running a new package, said team boss Toto Wolff. In the end, all of that doesn't matter. Others got it right where we got it wrong, and there's no wiggle room in the rules. Trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin added, "Unfortunately, it is one of the pitfalls of the sprint format, where we have a solitary hour of running before Parc Ferme. Without running a race fuel load in FP1, combined with a circuit as bumpy as this, and the parts of the track where the drivers have to put the car during the Grand Prix, have contributed to the higher than expected wear levels. Sprint weekends not only leave just 1 practice session instead of 3, but the setup is locked as cars entered Parc Ferme at the start of Friday afternoon qualifying. That implies that any further adjustments would have required them starting from the pit lane. So on Friday, Ferrari and Mercedes were effectively locked into this decision. However, as the stewards pointed out, and Mercedes statements confirm, it is the team's job to ensure the car is legal. In the end, both Ferrari and Mercedes representatives explained to the FIA prior to disqualification that the bumps on the track at the Circuit of the Americas create a particularly unique challenge for the drivers to navigate, along with only 1 hour of practice for a sprint weekend compared to the usual 3. During the hearing, the team acknowledged that the measurement performed by the FIA technical teams was correct, and stated that the high wear on the skid pads was probably a result of the unique combination of the bumpy track and the sprint race schedule that minimized the time to set up and check the car before the race, the verdict from the stewards explained, in exactly the same wording for both Hamilton and Leclerc. After all, it just seemed to be bad luck for both drivers and a bit of luck for their counterparts, as the rules saved their cars from being examined as well. So what are your thoughts on the weekend? Did you enjoy the race? And what about those Mercedes rumors? Could they really be cheating? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We hope you've enjoyed the race weekend, as we certainly did. We'll see you in our next video.